All right, I don't think those splines are not going to get any more reticulated than they already are. Hello, fellow Sublime Text Fanatics. OdatNurd here. Welcome to tonight's live stream for April the 14th, 2019. We will be doing some work on HyperHelp Author, which is actually something that was planned for last week, but I had to bow out of that stream because I needed to help my neighbor do some stuff, and the stream would have started quite late and have only gone about a half hour or so at most, and it didn't seem like the time to try to do something like that. And additionally, I said I did want to try to pick that up midweek, but I've been very busy doing other Sublime Text related, YouTube related things. But before we get into too much stuff, I'm going to go ahead and press the magic button. And of course, as we know, once I push the magic button, I immediately go over to OBS and press the magic eyeball to make sure that it doesn't automatically do that again accidentally, because that has happened and it is irritating. So, what have I been working on? Well, if you've been following my other channel, of course, there's a link in the description down below. 2 weeks ago, we released the video for Snappy, and last week we released the video for HyperHelp itself, which of course powers Snappy, but you will know that having been my faithful live stream viewer while we were working on the package itself. Tomorrow we are going to release a video showing how to use HyperHelp Author, and of course the plan originally was to have spent the last 2 weeks working on HyperHelp Author doing stuff so that by the time we got to tomorrow, there would be some nice added features there over and above what appeared in the video, because I recorded all three of those videos all in one night. But uh, the universe conspires sometimes. But what I have been doing in the background is setting up a bunch of other stuff, including new videos to be released starting not tomorrow, but the week after and going forward, which also involve things like getting a little bit of new gear. I have a widescreen lens, or sorry, a wide angle lens for my camcorder. So when I do video intros, it's easier to put me in there. I've also been experimenting. We'll see how it works. I haven't finished editing the video yet. The ability of injecting my face into the videos, especially during the parts where it's just heavy talking, so that there's some visual interest there, even though that would be my face, and I don't know if that's that visually interesting. But in any case, we still need to do work on HyperHelp Author, and that's what we're here to do tonight in tonight's live stream. And I would, of course, also remind you that if you like these live streams, you can subscribe to this channel so that you know when a new one is happening, which is, unless something happens, 8 o'clock PST, that specific standard time on the West Coast, every Sunday night. And if for some reason it's not going to happen, I send a message out on Twitter. You can follow me there at OdatNurd, and if I had the correct thing set up, I could pop up a lower third on this, but I don't. And I would also say I do have another channel, as I said, linked down in the description below. Subscribe to that one, like videos, blah, blah, blah. If you have any ideas for videos for the other channel, by the way, you can drop those in the comments section on any of my videos. You can send me an email at odatnurd@gmail.com. You can also tweet me at OdatNurd. And if you can't remember either of those things, remember OdatNurd.net. Take you to a website that provides all of that information and more. But for now, what are the plans for tonight? Now, I have a few things in the old list here in sort of, but not really a particular order. And the first one is change the layout of the package. Then we're moving on to creating some routines, fixing some stuff up. And I think if we can finish the change the layout of the package and have things still working, we want to skip down to 5, 6, and 7 in this list, which are adding extra lint options. So we're not going to cover any of these things until it comes time to do the actual thing. And for this, excuse me for a second, I'm going to slide my chair to the left, press the appropriate buttons to get just a little bit of a breeze blowing because the temperature outside, while balmy at the moment, was sunny for enough of the day, and I forgot to close the blinds from when I was creating some video, recording some video footage. It got kind of warm in here, blah. But first of all, this one, change the layout of the package. Now, what we mean by this is the following, and if I switch over to here, we can see this is the HyperHelp author package. This GitHub folder has all the stuff for the actual GitHub repository itself, how people can contribute, how they can get support, how they can record issues. Those get excluded by this git attributes file, which also excludes itself and the git ignore. This is just so that when package control installs the package, you don't get to see that folder. We already know that. Help, well, this is the most useless help ever because it's a help file that tells you that there's no help. One of the things I wanted to do was at least pull some of the information from HyperHelp, which is now fully documented, into here. But I haven't done that part yet, and that's not the sort of thing I would do in a live stream. Nobody needs to see somebody working on help. We have this resources folder, which is somewhat nice in the sense that it has the snippets that we want, the syntax information, and the other items there. But apart from that, we have one gigantic pile of commands. We have one gigantic pile of common code that has some stuff there. We have the linter here. And again, if you remember, not last stream, but last stream, but not last week, but the week before, when we were looking at the commands in this file, I guess I could use the sidebar for this. This is a rather long file with a lot of stuff in it, and that does make it harder to find things, perhaps more so than we might want. So what we're going to do is something along the lines of this. Now, again, you saw me working on override audit, but what we have here is a top level folder. Again, the same sort of stuff as before. Now we actually here we have a lib folder because there are some items that aren't necessarily part of override audit. They're separated out, and maybe they could be a dependency or something. I don't know. They're meant to be sort of reused. But then we have a folder named commands, and each one of these files is one command that is appropriate, and only one command. And then we have various other glue files to tie things together. And this makes this sort of stuff a lot easier because we know if we want to work on the diff report command or the diff single command, we can come here. This is purely, this command is the only thing here, and we might also care about, maybe the common code or something along those lines. So this is exactly what we want. Now there is a little bit of magic to how this works, and it starts off here, which of course is in an unfortunate locale. And it goes a little something like this. Sublime, by default, and I say that like there's a way to change it, but there's really not, will only load plugin files at the top level of a package, which in the case of override audit is this file and this file only, which means if you create subdirectories like, say, source, or subdirectories inside subdirectories, like say source commands, and put your plugin files in there, Sublime is not going to load them. It's not going to do a blessed thing with those particular files. It will only load files in the top level of a package. And that is specifically to allow you to do things like have different Python version files and implementations for different platforms or different architectures like 32-bit versus 64-bit, although that I think really, well, doesn't really matter so much in this day and age per se, but that's the general idea there. That's not to say you can't put plugin files there, because as we can see, very clearly doing that. But it does mean that Sublime won't automatically find them and load them, so you have to load them yourself. And when they change, it will not reload them. So you also need to reload them yourself. So that is what the point of all of this stuff here is. And basically, there is one. This is really a Python thing. I should go right out and say this now. And I am, if you've watched me, I am by no means an expert in Python by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, if you saw the stream last time, I needed to save a file, and I Googled how to open a file just because I wasn't 100% sure if the way I thought it was going to work was actually how it would work, which was a real mind job on myself, because the Python libraries do pretty fairly follow the C libraries that I'm more familiar with, which I do occasionally have to, view the man pages for anyway. But nevertheless, so the idea is we say in this lib folder that there's an init.py with this special name that also includes this that says what symbols this thing is supposed to spit out. And this is referencing these modules specifically, and each of these things has stuff in it. So when we say import lib, it automatically imports this. It knows we want to export those, so it also loads those. And we also have this magic reload call here. Similarly, there's the same thing here in the commands. There's a list of all of the commands. What it has to import them to be able to put them in the all, because these are actually coming from different files, and we only want one thing from each file exported. But the other thing about this whole operation is this reload operation, because as I said, Sublime won't load these, and it also won't reload them. And if you've been watching the streams long enough, one of the things you should do when you're working with any plugin that's more than one file, and sometimes even when it's just a single file plugin, is every now and then quit and restart Sublime, because the magic of how plugins load is all these files get loaded when Sublime itself loads a plugin. Like, for example, the only one that'll load is this one. Once it's loaded, it examines the symbols that this module exports to see which one of them are command classes, so it knows it can implement a command, which ones are event handlers, so it knows it can do that. Things of that nature. All the classes that are special in the API, it checks to see if there are any subclasses of those. So one thing you have to do is make sure that you actually import those classes from some external location into the module table of this file that Sublime is loading, so that it will actually load those commands and make them available. And as we've seen on any number of occasions, depending on how you make the changes, Sublime does unload and then reload the package, but that just sort of makes the symbols go away. It doesn't make everything go away, and you can end up in a weird case where you remove a class and all the existing code still works, because it just so happens that when the file was reloaded, that class wasn't in it anymore, so it doesn't get removed. It still exists. Python is dynamic enough that things that want to find it will find it in the runtime environment. And then when you quit and restart, boom, you get kicked right in the old butteroo when that thing is no longer there. And the same thing can happen at runtime when we say something like we want to import a command from diff externally. Just because we save diff externally, it doesn't mean Sublime loads it. It's not in the top level of a package. And even if I was to press, to save this top level plugin, if all it does is import that command, well, the import command in Python says, hey, I need this module. Does it exist? And the module table says, yep, it does, because once the module is loaded, it's cached in memory. And the import statement says, okay, that's good, let's go, and passes you back the old version of the class. So no matter what you have in your file, it's never actually being seen, which is one of those reasons why you might want to use automatic package reloader. But it also means that for our package, we need to handle the case where our plugin might get reloaded. One of those reasons is because we're developing it and we save the file. Another one of those reasons is if someone ignored the package and then unignored it in the same instance, the same runtime period of time, the same invocation, if you will, which would happen if, say, package control decided that it wanted to update your package. It would ignore your package so that it can modify it as appropriate. When it's done updating it, it unignores it. In that case, when Sublime loads this file, you need to make sure that all of the submodules that you know you need get automatically forcefully reloaded. And that is what this bit of code right here does, which basically for any module that you provide, it asks the system, has this been loaded? And if the Python interpreter built into Sublime says it has, then it forces it to be reloaded. If it says it hasn't been loaded, it does nothing. So that would happen, for example, on the initial startup. That would happen if you ignored the package, upgraded it, and now there's more files in this commands directory than there were before. When you unignore it, it knows exactly which one of those things that it actually needs to reload, but some of them will have not been reloaded because they didn't exist before. So this is the sort of layout that we want to impose here in our HyperHelp author package, which is one of those things that's simultaneously fun and scary, just from the whole, excuse me, I have a little bit of an itch there, standpoint of it's hard to make sure that everything still works the way one might expect it to work in that case, which is why I think we should probably do it in somewhat of a piecemeal fashion. This may also involve drinking copious amounts of coffee, or at least whatever coffee is currently left in this Tim Hortons cup that I'm drinking water from, or coffee from right now. Which incidentally tastes like caramel because of the cream I put in it, not because I added caramel to it. I didn't have that kind of time. Okay, so um, what we basically want to do, and I suppose for our purposes here, I'm going to move this off to the other desktop, like so. Whoa, I'm having a hard time. There we go. Grabbing onto it. And just for now, I'm going to say new view into file and pop it over here, like so. Boop, and we'll move that one over too. Okay, so we're going to want to sort of model what we have over there here. And then we'll very slowly move items into it one at a time and make sure that things still seem to work. Now, this is going to involve a whole lot of restarting Sublime in all likelihood. So the first thing we want is, here we have a file named overrideaudit.py. Oh, there we go. Got a little confused there for a second. So we're going to want something similar over here in HyperHelp author. We might name it something like authoring.py. And you can see down here, I'm in a new branch called code reorganize so that we can roll out of this if things go horribly awry and we can go back and do other stuff instead. So let's say that yeah, well, what's the best way to pull this off? I mean, I guess I might say new file relative to the current view and name it authoring.py. And we could import imp and import sys, steal this. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. And we'll copy that and we'll paste it here with the appropriate stuff. And this other part here, which I did not explain previously, this we're going to put in here as well with the appropriate spacing. But we're going to go ahead and do that. And okay, that seems to be loading, so that's good. Plugin loaded, as we know, is something that Sublime invokes when it loads a plugin, and plugin unloaded happens when it unloads a plugin. Now, of course, the only thing that's considered a plugin by Sublime is items in the top level of a package. Those other files, like we saw in Override Audit, aren't technically plugins. They're Python files, even though they look plugin-y, just based on the idea that Sublime won't automatically load them. And that means if they have a plugin loaded or a plugin unloaded, they won't get called. So these methods here allow us to chain this in and send it up into one of the files that we loaded, say, add another thing there. I would imagine. No, I didn't do that there. Ooh, that's unfortunate. I have to fix that and override audit later. I'll do that. Kind of forgot what I was saying there. So in override audit, their items in the core of the code need to know if plugins are loaded or unloaded because it needs to remove settings listeners and set up settings listeners and stuff like that. So it passes them into the inner code. We want to put that here so if we need to do that, we can. I'm not sure yet if we actually need to or not. So I'm just going to leave those commented out. This would actually be hyper help author, but otherwise its usage remains the same. Now, I think what we also have to do here is, and again, if I just sort of brought this window over a little bit just to hang on the side here, we can see that we have the layout of this is there's a source folder that contains another directory and also this file. So this file is actually inside the source directory and has all of the items that are coming from just the source in general, as well as all of the commands and stuff. So let's say we want to create something like this as well. And I'm just going to leave that over here because we're going to be able to see it in just a second. But we want to set that up to be able to create that folder so that we can include this. We're not going to have a lib here, I don't think. We'll see. But what we do want is a new file relative to the current view named, say, source/init.py, let's say, which is there. So that is creating that particular file. Now, from here, we might want to say from authoring import reload, which is the same thing that the other one does. That pulls basically the hyperhelp author version of that in. And then what are we going to drop into here? See, this is where this whole thing just starts to get scary and spooky. But coding is somewhat of an iterative, scary process. We want to also remember that we're using Git, so nothing we're doing is technically going to break anything in a way that we can't back out of, which should give you the sense of safety and freedom you need to go and do what you need to do. Make sure you have a backup of your Git repository, though. Having a little bit of a frog in the throat type situation here. So One thing we do need again here is this. Now, if you don't specify this operation here, then I believe Python just automatically assumes anything that's in the top level global is what it needs to export. But if we're going to do this, we want to be able to do it cool, if you will. So I think what we want to do here is say common, because we're going to move that common file into the source. And if we do that, we also need to say reload, and with the prefix source, we want to reload the common module. Now this is a list so that there can be more than one of them, but for now there's only the one. And then we can say from dot import common, like so. Now we can save that file and it has no relative effect on anything. Okay, so just trying to think of what a nice way to explain this is. So when you load this file, it pulls in the import, it imports the reload from the lower level authoring thing like so. Then it uses it to say in the source module, please reload everything with the name of common. And that will make, at the first time we do it, nothing will happen. Once that's done, it imports common. Now common is in source. And then this says we want to export that module out to anybody that cares about it. Oh, excuse me. This headset is really itching my ears today. Then the next time this is imported, when it gets to this reload, it looks for source common, finds it, reloads it, and then this imports the new fresh one. Okay. So my dog is flipping out under there. I don't know why. I think my toe might have moved. He's a good 3 feet away from me, but apparently he's afraid that my legs are just going to stick out all akimbo. Okay, now with that done, I think what we want to do is move this file to source, like so. Move here. That's the file manager class. What's this do? Untracked and missing files. Oh, yeah, okay, I can see. I removed it from the one and added it to the other. So yeah, I can see why it would get unhappy about that. So here's exactly an example of what I was talking about. The authoring tools. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. The authoring tools do need to do something with plugin loaded. So that's where we would be able to hook in to be able to do this stuff here. So just for our own purposes, we're going to say, let's add some print statements in here so we can watch things working. Plugin in common.py. Whoops. Plugin loaded in common.py. Okay, now we can save that and we can see nothing's actually happening there at all. This does require us to initialize the core for HyperHelp because we need it. All the stuff that's being imported up there we don't care about, so that is cool. Now in here, in this one, we could actually do some stuff like say print init in source, like so. And down here in authoring, we could say print plugin loaded in authoring.py. And now when I save that, we see that happening, right? Okay, so now the one thing we might want to do here is, you know, again, if we look at what override audit is doing here, we have the reload method, which is what we had before. Now here, we can actually say reload source. Whoops, but now here we're not putting any argument there because we're just telling it, please reload everything in the source directory. And when it does that, it's going to find that we imported the common module from source, and then part of loading that is going to call that init.py theoretically. And when we save, Will we actually see any magic happening here? Plugin loaded in authoring.py. Oh, I didn't actually import the thing yet. That's the next. Whoops. The next thing up here is that business there. Now, normally you wouldn't want to from source import star or from anywhere import star. In our particular case, this is cool because we're using that all thing. We are very specifically saying exactly what things we want this thing to export. And that list of things is very specifically things we want exported, right? So we can do this and know that it's only going to import things that we actually care about. If you wanted to, you could say from source import common and from source import blah and from source.commands import blah, all down through the chain of stuff, and then be able to grab it that way if you wanted to. Let me just move that out of the way a little bit. So now when I save this, we can see it's calling input in source and input in source and input in source. Now, if I commented this out, we see it's not saying that anymore. So this reload is actually what's causing it to make that part happen. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is here in common, we want to name this loaded like so. We don't have a plugin unloaded here, but what we do want to do is find the appropriate file. Well, let's say we don't care about the linter right now. We don't care about, I don't even care about that right now per se. But what we actually want to say here is common.loaded like so. Okay. And now it says plugin loaded in common so that we're passing that through and we can see it happening. Similarly, let's do the same thing here just because. And I'm going to remove that print because we know it works now. See, now it's all unhappy because that module is not actually there, and we may have horribly broken this thing. Unloaded. Do package cleanup at unload time, and maybe we'll also fix that. And this can just be a pass, just so it does nothing. Now again, notice saving there does squat, saving here does squat, saving here causes things to reload, and you have to do it a couple of times because the first time it's using that module that's still broken, and then after that it all works. Okay, and because of that now we know works, we could remove that as well and get ourselves into a situation where it just says plugin loaded in common.py. So we could also go ahead and remove that one, save. Now when we come over here and save, we see it once and then we don't see it anymore. That's that whole seeing things in the wrong order type of situation. I have automatic package reloader, so I could try to do that, but notice it's very unhappy now. A lot of the code is broken because there's no such module for things that it's trying to reload, like so. So the next thing we have to do here is fix all of the other files. So how might we pull that off? Now this commands file, for example, when I save here, it gets mad because that doesn't work. I think we want from .source.common. Now this is where we need to, I'm going to type this in all of them. I'm not 100% sure. Whoops. Okay, so that fixes that. It knows where to pull that from. Yeah. Again, we're going to sort of clean this up slowly over time. And we might also want to do that here because this one's also broken. So from .source.common And now that one works. And in Linter, it actually doesn't do anything in this one. So that file's clean. That file is clean. Commands is clean, such as it is. Authoring is this one, which just reloads everything. And now if I do automatic package reloader, it's happy. And now just for our own edification, if I quit and I restart like so, we don't see any errors in the console, but authoring command should still work. So I should still be able to edit this help file, for example. And here it is. And I should be able to edit this help index, which I can, and I should be able to lint, if I could type this file, and have that do stuff. So we're correctly allowing the code in common to do stuff. And if we really wanted to double verify this, one of the commands clearly is when to add help to a package. So if I said browse available help for hyperhelp author, just pick that and then say add help file like so, it's going to ask me, we'll call it say sample.txt and save it like so. Save it into that folder as sample.txt. And that proves that this actually works, right? And again, I could do the thing where I edit this help index and lint, and it's going to tell me that that file is there but missing from the index. And here's another thing. I'm pretty sure this is a bug. This doesn't display any warnings. This is one of those things that could be cleaned up. Right now, it doesn't say that this is a file that isn't contained in the index because it doesn't actually know what package it's supposed to be in, if that makes sense, because the index doesn't recognize it. This is where that come up with common routines for getting the package from resource thing is talking about. Given any help file, determine what the package info for the help package is so that commands could run, which would allow the linter to know that this is doing something stupid. But for now, we're going to go ahead and delete that file because we don't care, and we'll go ahead and close that index as well. So again, if we wanted to just double check here, we're going to close all those just for the time being. Authoring looks very similar to this. We reload the modules there. We reload and import from that. This actually, I guess, should have one of these in here too. And I think this is a Python style guide thing to want to have a couple of lines between sections and between functions and stuff. It's one of those things I didn't necessarily like about uh, formatting Python code way back when, before I started playing around with Flake 8 and discovering that I really don't agree with their coding standards. This one seemed like it wasn't that big of a deal. So I do try to keep that up. I do find that it actually adds a little clarity to the whole operation. So that's that file there. Now again, I think I could bring this over. Where's my mouse cursor? And just sort of snap her there for a second and snap. Whoa, no, don't do that. Snap that one there. Now that's pretty unreadable, isn't it? Yeah, maybe probably don't want to do that. Maybe we don't want to do that. Okay, let's just go the other way with that. The next thing we did was the source init, which looks like so, and that would be the source init. That's this file here. If I turn off the sidebar here and scoot this over, we can see that that is pretty. We import the reload, we reload the parts of the module that we care about. We import stuff we care about. Now here I said from dot import core and from dot core import star, but I'm not sure why I did that per se. So that might have been something that I technically didn't need to do. I spent a lot of time when I was working on this in Override Audit coming up with a way to do it that looked, finger quotes, nice. and stuff. I guess I should probably also do this because it shows what files these things come from. Now, for the file that's actually in there, that's this common file like so. Over here, that's the file named core.py, which is this one, which has all kinds of stuff in it. Whoops, don't do that. Don't do that, man. Now, okay, so I was doing from dot dot blah dot dot blah. Okay, so I have a loaded and an unloaded. Here I'd say what I'm actually doing in those things. I don't know that that's technically necessary for what we're doing here in a HyperHelp author, but it has the same sorts of stuff in it. The overall top level routines. So I think that's more or less what we want. So let's go ahead and pop into here. Now, if we actually looked at this stuff, we might say that in commands.py, let's see, the first thing that we did was we added a new file called authoring. So stage that. We added, whoops, don't do that. A source init.py with that stuff in it. And also the common item was deleted from here and it was added over here like so. And then at the same time, we updated those things as well. So we updated that and we updated that. And that gives us a new file, commands fixed to get code from a new place. That's to get code from a new place. And this, oops, this was renamed and also plugin loaded was changed to loaded and that new thing was added. So yeah, this is the tricky thing. I don't want to spend a bunch of time writing commit messages, but I also want to try to close this branch if we get this finished. So I guess we'll worry about that later. So we'll say, what did we actually do here? Move common code into source directory like so. And then here we might, do some stuff, but we'll go ahead and commit those files. So now that change is made. Now the next thing we want to do here is we want to move this linter code in there as well, because this is also just a bunch of top level stuff, just like the other one was. It's all of the I don't think there's any commands in here. It's just the commands are in the other part. This is just the actual classes used to do the linting itself. These ones down here are the actual linters themselves, and then there's the one base class named linter base. So we might want to move this file also into source, move here. And then that means that up in here, we want to change this from to also include linter. Import linter there and do that like so. Now again, this is another one of those situations where we need to go and fix other stuff. So this doesn't use the linter, so we don't care. Commands does use the linter, so we need to change this to oops, again, we'll do that way. Source linter like so to pull those from the linter, and then we can go ahead and close it. This is importing everything from source thusly. So I think at this point, oh shoot, line 22 from source import star. Okay, this has already gone somewhat off the rails. Now, why did this actually fail? is what we need to know. Do, do, do. In commands.py line 15, source common. Uh-oh, don't tell me there's some sort of module object has no, what we might need to do is save it once here. Okay, so it's definitely broken there. Let's go ahead and quit and restart. And that seems like it would have worked except for that. So our problem here is in authoring.py in line 22. Module has no attribute common linter. Now, let's say I'm not 100% surprised by that. Whoops. I'm not entirely sure where that's actually coming from, if we wanted to be perfectly honest. I mean, obviously it's coming in here, right? Oh, maybe there's I see what it says about module has no attribute. Oh, that is unfortunate. And okay, now we'll quit it and restart it just to keep everything on the level. And it seems to have worked, such as it is. I can reload that. I can reload, well, here. But can I lint an actual thing? So I might say edit help index and lint it. Seems like there's not a problem. I could also edit help file for index.txt and say that and lint here, still get an error. So the linter is actually still working. And we learned an implicit lesson that adjacent strings are concatenated together at runtime in the same way that they would be for C. So that's handy. And then we can come back over to, oops, I already opened that, didn't I? Over to here. Now, what did we actually do here? First of all, we can stage linter and stage linter, which is going to tell us that the contents are unchanged and it just moved. That change can go away. We most certainly don't care about that. Here, because we moved the linter into source, we needed to change the import, and we also need to pull that in there as well. So let's stage that, and move linter code into source directory like so. Commit those files. Now we come back. Here's where things start getting a little quote unquote hairy. There are commands that we need to do something with, and there are events that we need to do something with. Now, there's currently only one event listener. If we looked at how override audit is doing this, I don't know that I'm actually using any distinct event listeners in here, to be perfectly honest. That's still not, oh, I see what I did there. That was absolutely laid out in a way. Okay, so there is one there called events. And how do we handle that here? Here's one where we need to, okay, so I'm going to move that over there for the time being. I believe, oh, I see why it's doing that. I named this one events here because I named it events over there as well. So I could say move this file to source. Move here. So now it's inside that source directory there. Here in the init, much like last time, we also need to say event. As a matter of fact, we might even assume that events are more important than the listener in that case. And from dot events import star. And then here, events contexts, the actual thing that we care about here is this one. That apply author setting is private to that. So we could do that. Hyper help author event listener is one of the things that pops out here, like so. Now, what is this actually doing? Update header on save. Okay, so we'll be able to tell if that's actually doing something. That's good. Now, that's what we have over here in override audit. We have it set to import that event. There's not a context yet, so we don't care about that. And down in override audit itself, we also don't care about that because we're importing everything. So this should make the event listener also visible, if you will. Just to double check this, we could even do this. If we wanted to actually do something, we could say here, applying authoring settings here like so, okay? And then we're going to quit. We're going to restart. And do we see an error there? Yes, yes we do. So what is it unhappy about? In hyperhelp authoring in no module. Oh, I see. Yeah. I was thinking of that very thing when I was looking at this. It's just called .common in here now, because it shares a directory. It doesn't have to look anywhere special. Okay, quit and restart, and that looks like it has not triggered an error, and we'll be able to tell when I save this file, which says applying authoring settings, and we can also see the header changed to today's date from what it used to be, which is that, like so. It used to be December 20th, and now it's not. So that's cool. Of course, now we can't really revert that because as soon as we save it, it immediately updates the header. But that's okay. So now we can redact that and come back over to here. And what did we change here? We deleted the events file, and then we added it back in another location, which makes it look like we renamed it and removed that part. And at the same time, we also made sure that we reload the events file, import all of the events. Oh, why did I do it that way? Is that what I was doing over here in override audit? Let's just double check that I'm not on crack. From .core import star, from .events import star, from .contexts import star. So all I really did in override audit is import the core from that and then everything else that way. But here, I didn't import common that way. I'm importing the actual module, since everything we're importing has to come from those modules anyway, except for I'm importing all of the items from events instead of events because we don't want the symbols to say events on them. We just want the event listener. So that I believe should be absolutely what we want. And we can discard that hunk as well. And now we come back here and say move event handlers into source directory. Now here's where it starts to get, if you will, really sketchy really fast. The only one that's left here is this commands.py, and we want this to be not just one file, we want this to be one file for every command, which is, this type of action here. So we're going to need to do a twofold here on this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this into source commands. Well, that's how I did it over here, like so. So now that whole file is just up there in the directory name commands. Now all the commands are now gone. So we'll see up here in HyperHelp author, all those are out of there now because the plugin was unloaded and it's just gone now. But that does mean that this stuff is pretty clean now, discounting all that other crunk that is right there. Now, with that having been done, I think what we want to do is split this stuff up into multiple files, which is the part that is the tedious part. This is usually the part of a project like this where I know exactly what I need to do and it's just going to take a long time to do, that I immediately hop over to the forum to see if there's anybody that needs a question answered, because then I can ignore what I'm doing and help somebody else instead. That's not really an option here. Oh, I have a little bit of coffee left, so we can go ahead and get ready to do that. Now, the thing here is that we do have a couple of these things that are used in a bunch of different places. So I don't think I have any analog to that over in override audit. I just have commands there. Well, one thing I do need over here, oh, that's awful. So let's say the first thing we want to do is let's save as this. And we don't want it to call it commands. We want to call it common.py in here. So now in in common.py, we will leave all of those and remove all of these command classes because we are in the common code, the code that's common to all commands. Like so. Now, we also need to know, does this appear anywhere in here? No, it doesn't. So we're going to need to tweak that as well. This is, again, where this really starts to get all sketchy. Where's format? There's, yeah, okay. We're going to do that. Now these items aren't module private anymore because they're going to be private to things in the commands directory, and they're not going to leak out. Oh, excuse me, I think I just bumped the mic. Hang on a second. So there's that. Let's undo that there real quick. Oops, oh, that wind is going crazy. Now here again, we can take off these prefixes thus like, okay, because these are now items that we're going to want to be able to import. Now, I'm going to save that. We definitely need the RE module for that. So we'll do that. Error dialog needs log. And that comes from here. So let's copy that. We're basically we definitely want to be able to do that so that we can call that format template is in source common. So we want to put that here. This would this actually be source common? This might be one of those things that's going to be a bit of a bear. It might be dot dot common, actually, I'm going to say. Because if it's in this commands directory, we want to load that one. So it needs to go up one directory from commands to source. So it uses that. That's going to find it format template. Sublime is something that was already included. Set's just a thing. Sorted's just a thing. Format template, we already did something with. Codex.open. Codex open. So I think that's that one, right? So we don't need this. We don't need this or this. We want to keep those. And we don't want any of this business because this part is just no longer useful to us, right? None of the code in this module uses it, and get rid of that as well. So that's the common code in commands. Now, this is stuff that the other commands are going to want to use. So let's close that one because we're kind of done with that one. Now here in commands, we sort of need to do magic here. We need to from .common import, and we want to import that and that and that and that and that, all of those things. And we might, throw some commas on here and then join them up. Well, whoops, like so. And we also want to do, oh, hang on. Don't do it that way, bro. We want to find all instances of, oh, sorry. Let's do that this way first. We definitely don't need that, and we don't need any of these functions because we just imported them from the other module where we put them and renamed them. So all of those can go away, and those are redundant. Now the easiest way to fix this is to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. I think should probably be pretty kosher, I would imagine. Okay. Now there might be some stuff in here that we don't need any longer. So do we still need log? Yes. Do we still need this? Yes. I assume we need that, and we totally need that. I can't imagine why we wouldn't. Yeah, we totally need to worry about loading files and unloading them and reloading them. And finding the help view. Yes. Do we still need to format a template? Yes. For that, okay. Okay. Now, these are, I'm imagining that these are all things we want, but it's been a while since I've cleaned these up, so that's why we're just sort of checking here to see if these are used. Yeah, these linter ones are definitely used here. We're going to be doing a bunch of this type action too. Now, actually, we might even bump these up to here, like so, and delete that. Now, if we came over here, what we could do is say that what did we do? We deleted the commands file. Yes, we did. But we also added the commands file here, which should show that it's renamed, and basically some of this content is being removed. And for the other stuff, the only difference is some underscores are missing now where there weren't before, but otherwise it's good. And then that other missing code is this stuff with the names tweaked up. So we can stage that. And here is the part where we say move commands into the source directory and stage that. Now with that commit, we're just going to keep fiddling with as time goes on. I'm not sure why that's still telling us that those files are modified, because they should have been checked in, should they not? So that may or may not be some sort of weird issue. That's weird. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. Okay, and close that one. Close the linter code, because I'm sure we don't care about that right now. Now is the time when we need to start splitting this out into its own commands, where we basically need to make one copy of this file for every command and then edit every file to only have the one command in it. So let's say save as update header, like so. And then we would have create help. There's probably a better way to do this, but edit help. Whoops. Create index. Edit index, right? Help author, reload help. Okay, so reload help. That's reload index. Lint. I don't like this whole context edit help thing. Context edit help. Why is that a thing? Context edit index. Context edit index. Thus, okay, now we come back to commands and say we can delete that file out because we're done with it now. And just for our purposes, let's close everything there and then go through these one at a time. So context edit. Oh, actually, I should do these in order, shouldn't I? Update header command. That's this one. So we're going to say we want that command and that command only. Update header. And all of this goes away. And I guess we could just do this in any particular order. We want to make sure all of them are there, though. Context edit help. That's going to be down near the bottom, I'm pretty sure. Context, edit, help, that's that one. So this command goes away. Now this is the sort of thing that doesn't make for scintillating viewing, but unfortunately there's not a lot that can be done about that here if we're going to do live streams for this type of thing. Sometimes coding is fun and exciting and mysterious, and sometimes it's just sort of a slog of, I know exactly what to do, I know exactly how to do it. I just, you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, and this is context edit index, that's that one. Okay, and save that, create help. So that's this one. And once we fold up that command, all this stuff goes away. Make sure that's good. Okay, create help, good. Create index. Update header, create help, edit help, create index, which ends right there. Straight to there. Edit help. Update header, create help, edit help. It's this one, and from here down, and edit index. Let's see. Create help file, edit help, create help index, edit index, like so, and all of this goes away. Whoa, oh, I hate when that happens. Okay. And lint, that's going to be down here somewhere. Edit help, create index, edit index, reload help, reload index, lint, that's this one, and from there down. And then we reload help. See, we're getting there. Reload help. Edit help, create index is the big long one. Edit index, reload help is that one right there. And then this one goes away. And reload index, that's going to be somewhere. Edit help, create index. Edit index, reload index. That's that one. All these go away. And update header. That's the one we already did. Now, with just that done, let's double check this. Okay. The one modified file is commands because it's gone now. So let's open, whoops, that too as we look at this. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 commands in here. So update, it's there. It's 1. Create help is there. It's 2. Edit help is there. It's 3. Create index is there. It's 4. That's the big long one. Edit index is there. It's that one. It's 5. Reload help is here for 6. Reload index is here for 7. Lint is here for 8. context edit help is here for 9, and context edit index is here for 10. So all of those are there. So we can stage the discard of that. And now context edit help, yes. And context edit index, yes. Create help, yes. Create index, yes. What I'm doing here is verifying that the command that's in this file is the one that matches the file name. Edit help, yes. Edit index, yes. Lint command, yes. Reload help, reload index, update header, like so. That's all the modified files. We're going to amend the previous commits because as part of moving this in, we're deleting files and splitting them up. Then we come back in here again, and we're going to once again just close all of these because now we need to do the thing where we say, does this appear? No. Does this appear? No. Does this appear? No. So this line gone. This, nope. Nope. So that line goes away. I imagine log is just always going to be there. So even if it's not right now, well, we could always add it in later, I guess. Current help package and current help file, yes. Help index list, no. Load help, reload help, none of those. And this one, nope. Format template, nope. 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 So only those are the ones that are needed. We can clean those up nicely. And those are coming from HyperHelp core, so we don't have to worry about it finding those or not. They're just there. Those are coming from the dependency. And I'm going to imagine that if we edit the index, these ones are actually small enough for us to say that we definitely no. Whoops. Not that, nor that. Oh, current help package, yes. So all of those ones go away. Do we need current help file? Not if we're editing the index. So no. So all those go away, and those are from the core. So that's okay. Don't care. Nope. Oh, yes. Excuse me. So that one's going to need to be fixed too, pretty sure. And yeah, we're not linting anything, so that's most assuredly nothing we care about here. Now this one, this is the source comment, so we need to go up a directory to get the comment from that folder because we're in this folder. So I think this becomes a dot, but otherwise good. Create help. Oh, actually, I wasn't cleaning those out, was I? Haha. Okay, so no. I was too concerned with, my bad, the actual other things there. And I'm going to assume no. Get rid of all those too. See, it's, I don't know, you could say tedious, but not like super tedious, really. Whoops. Okay, we definitely want that one. Don't care about that one. Nope. That one, yes. And that one, no. So we can get rid of that and get rid of that. This is create help. Don't care about that or that or that. No. So both of these can go away. Log, yes. Help package, yes. Or prompt, yes. Yeah. That one doesn't look like it is strictly necessary. Help index list, yes. Help load help index, no. And reload, no. So we can do that. And nope. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely formatting templates. We don't care about that. We do care about that. Don't care about that. About this one. Yeah, definitely want that, and don't care about that one. No, no, no. Oops. No, no. So bang, bang, bang. Those ones go away. Now again, there is still more cleanup that needs to occur here. Oh, don't do it that way. Definitely want that one. Definitely want that one. Don't care about that one, huh? That doesn't seem right. But all right. Oops. Nope. Definitely, 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 definitely. Okay. Any logging? Yes. Help package prompt? No. Nope. Nope. That one goes away. And I'm not being particularly chatty here, but there's really not a lot to say. This is, again, just really grinding through. I did spend a lot of time doing this exact thing when I was doing the BSR, or Big Scary Refactor, on Override Audit. And from watching this, you might get a sense for why I termed it the Big Scary Refactor, because it can be sort of daunting to take something that you know works and start fiddling with the fundamentals of how it's laid out, because that can totally end you with something that doesn't work. And then it could be very tricky to see why that particular problem, what did you do wrong? Which is part of the reason why I'm doing this in stages, if you will, coming through and seeing first, splitting the commands out, then coming through and cleaning up imports and all that other stuff. And I want this all to be one commit when I'm done, but I also want the power of being able to um, verify as I'm looking at diffs that the changes I'm making are the changes I intended to make. So I do make a lot of use, even in my everyday development, with the idea of amending a previous commit. Because it's just such a handy way to piecemeal create commits like this. Now, this is probably violating some sort of law of Git, if I had to guess, because you probably shouldn't be fiddling around with constantly hammering on your commits. I mean, why add the functionality if you don't want someone to use it? And we really are, I guess, open to our own use case and scenarios for how we want to work and use the tools. Certainly, Git always seemed like C very much that sort of thing that gives you just enough rope to let you hang yourself, and then it shoots you directly in the foot. So there's that. I mean, I've been running into a lot of that at work recently because we're working on a very big project with a lot of teams spread all over everywhere, working on this different aspects of the same project. And my company historically, at least my division, hasn't used Git for anything. We've been using TFS. That one's totally something, but that one's not, huh? Oh, that one is. Okay. There's a very good possibility that I'm messing stuff up by doing this while I'm talking, but that's what future recriminations are for. But anyway, um, not our we use TFS, and I might have even said Team Fortress because that's what I think of as TFS, which is probably showing my age. A game before Team Fortress 2 was the thing. There was an original Team Fortress, which was a mod to the original Quake, which was exciting for people who had 486s to be able to see true 3D being rendered on their screen for the first time, even if it was mostly shades of poopy brown. So I tend to say Team Fortress when I mean to say Team Foundation server. This is what we normally use, or at least other parts of the company do. Um, my particular branch for all their Windows development tended to use Visual Source Safe, but they're transitioning to TFS right now. But this big project, because we have so many teams working from all over and collaborating, they are using for the first time Git. And I mean, if you've seen me on any of these streams, you know that I am by no means any sort of expert on Git and how to do anything in a sane, uh, simple way. There's certainly a lot of arcane action when it comes to Git and interfacing with it. But I'm still the guy that knows a lot more than other people do because I do use it in my regular hobby development as well. And I think I've even mentioned this on other streams. I'm spending a lot of time helping other people come to terms with Git. And I think one of the big issues with that they're having with Git is the idea of branching code. Um, so when it comes to this, teaching people how to do stuff, I'm very conscious of the idea that what I'm doing might not be necessarily the greatest demonstration of how a person could do something in Git in a sane way, but I do try to preface those sorts of things and really hammer home the idea that Git as a version control system is really providing you the tools to track your changes and gives you a lot of latitude in the way that you choose to use those tools and chain them together to be able to do what you want to do and how you want to do it. So at that level, probably don't worry about this too much. Um, but one of the other lessons that I try to really hammer home is the idea that Git is lightweight enough that anybody could use it on any project, and often I will git init in an empty directory just to work on some throwaway code, just because you can do that thing where as you're going along, you make changes to the code and decide that it works for you, and then you make commits, and then I can cycle back and say, okay, so what about now? um, how can I clean this code up and make it look a little bit nicer, right? And you can clean that code up, and then if there's a problem, you can always go back and be able to easily compare what you're currently working against with what used to be a thing that existed, and see exactly what you changed. And that can help you decide, like, discover, you know, bugs in a way that you might not otherwise have noticed. Um, and it really just makes the whole process a lot easier. And it does, again, give you that sense of safety of I can fiddle with this code all I want, because if I mess something up, I can totally just go into the Git repository and get the last version of the file back. I don't have to worry about, you know, you ever run into that situation where you're just working on some one-off code and it seems to work, and then you go back and play with it a little more, and now it's broken, and it's really hard to determine, if you weren't very careful about the changes that you were making, you might, fall into that trap where you make a lot of changes and then something doesn't work and you get all confused about how could I. Oh, I think I did something wrong there. Let's take that back. Okay. You might get all confused, like what exactly was it that I did? That one's definitely being used. That's the one. Okay. And without it having it in source control, if you make too many changes all at once, oh, this is the one where it's used. Those are the sorts of problems that one just there that make me nervous about bulk doing this sort of operation. But we do want to be able to test all commands afterwards, which isn't something that we would actually want to do in the stream, because watching testing is probably slightly less scintillating than watching a guy cleaning up the import list in a bunch of commands that he's splitting apart, while chatting about more or less, nothing of any great import, imparting the wisdom, if you will, but perhaps more exciting than just watching these sorts of operations go. You fall into that sort of mesmerizing loop where you just get all the stuff, and I'm assuming we're not linting here. We'll just go ahead and clear all of those and close them all again. And now we're going to make one final pass on all of these files, just to clean things up a little bit, because that was mostly just a deletion type thing. So we want the common in the upper directory, I imagine, if we fixed that one already. These ones would work the same way. These would just be dots, because if we're going to pull them out of source common and we're in commands, we want to go up a directory for those ones. But what we can also do here is there's few enough of these now that we can, oops, collapse those together like this. And I'm not sure. I don't think all of these will fit on one. I think that's why I did it that way to begin with. Yeah. Those ones will leave well enough alone. Okay. Import error. Okay, that one's definitely not going to fit on two, so we'll be okay with those. And .source.common is actually, again, .common. Edit help source common is .common. This is an example of one we can actually splop up there. Just hits the line, but otherwise makes that nice and clean. Again, we're going to probably do the same thing here. That's looking pretty good. And source common becomes .common. Those ones we already know don't fit, so we don't care. This one we can go in this order instead. And those ones look like they're all pretty good. Common core, okay, and update headers, common log from .common from .common. I don't know what the clever way to do that is. Okay, but that is now all of our commands. Now we need to be able to tie all of this action in. And to do that, we're going to want to file, whoops, wrong one, something like this, which we're going to save into the commands as init.py, like so. But here, we need to add a, hang on a second, my puppy is having a sneezing, coughing attack. He is okay. He's giving me the evil eye because I touched his head. When he's sleepy, he doesn't want people touching his head. Sometimes he gets a little bit of a booger nose type action. Okay. So what was I just about to say here? If this is the init in source, did I just close a file that I didn't mean to? I wanted packages hyperhelp source init. Okay, let's source commands init. There we go. Oh, I'm gonna watch that back. This one's gonna need 3 dots because now it needs to go from commands to source to the root to get the reload method. And that one's going to say source.commands is the name of the module to reload. And now we need the names of, I'm going to maximize that over on that window for just a moment. All this stuff down here is going to be different. This stuff is going to be different. Save that. Now, this is, I won't say problematic, but the sad maker, let's say. We're going to close that one. We need, in this list up here, the names of all the files in this. So we definitely want common. And then, whoops, we want context, edit help. Need to move that over a little bit so I can see my thing. Okay, there we go. Context, edit index, and create help, create index, whoa, edit help, edit index, lint. These could perhaps be put in some order other than how they appear in the sidebar if we wanted to logic them up. Reload help, reload index, like putting all of the index files in one, all the help files together. Reload help, reload index, update header is all of that. Now we need to do this. So we can say boop and go up and split that selection into lines and say from dot that import blah to actually import the commands. Okay, now here's the part where we say context edit help is this command. And context, I need to do it this way. Edit index is that. Create help is this one. Create index is this one. Now you could probably just infer, based on the scheme that I'm using for the names of these commands, that I could just type these out, but I find a little copy and paste stops problems where you accidentally mistype the name of something and it doesn't line up, and error messages are suitably esoteric in a way that makes you get all angry that it says that there's something that you can't load, but it sure looks for all the world like you can load it. So now, oh, actually I can make this part a little easier, can't I? I can do this. And then, again, we come down here and paste it and split it into lines. Wrap it. And comma at the end, except for this one. And then we can say what? Linting is this one. Maybe we even want that one at the bottom, come to think of it. Oops, help files, which we would create help, edit help, context edit help, create edit reload context, and maybe that. And then index files would be create index, edit index, reload index, context edit index, like so. That one doesn't need to have a comma on the end. And save that file thusly. So now this is saying that we should reload the module from the module source.commands, reload all of the files that we know are contained inside of it, just to make sure they all reload. And then we need to import all of the commands that we're implementing and send them out to whoever imports commands, which would be this one. So now in that one, which would be, okay, let's see, close that, reload index, reload help, edit index, create help, context. I don't have it open over there anymore. Okay, be this file here, the source index init. Also now needs to say reload source.commands, because this is a whole separate kettle of fish from just reloading the source comments, source events, and source linter files. We want to reload source commands as that whole submodule that's made up of a whole bunch of other modules. And then we can say from .commands import star. And we also need then to grab all of these things like so and put them here. Whoops. We might say commands, paste them in, get rid of these extra comments because that doesn't really matter. Move that up, change that comment. Oops, that comma I should say, to that. And well, that says applying authoring settings a fair bit, doesn't it? Did I forget to yeah, that was not the way to do that, was it? This was the way to do that. Find in files, print. Nope, okay. So that's probably okay. I'm not sure why it's saying that quite so much, because it doesn't seem like it should be. Pretty sure I removed that, did I not? It was in here. That's one of those things that's kind of spooky. Let's quit and restart, because you can never quit and restart Sublime too many times. And I think it is quite unhappy. Okay, what did we mess up? From source lint. Oh, the lint code is broken. Yeah, I forgot these ones. This one should go away like that. Yeah. Quit and restart. When in doubt, clean it out. Okay, and now it's unhappy. From dot commands import star. Oh, did I forget to actually import commands? I might have forgotten. Oh, no, that's totally. Let's double check this one. Okay. In reload plugin, in authoring line 22 in from dot source import. In line 9, from dot commands import module object has no attribute. Hyperhelp author. Oh, there's a comma missing. Oh. Boy, how many times am I going to make that mistake, huh? 100. How about that? That's getting closer. No, there's more than one of those, huh? There's that one there too. If that's the case, then I probably did something stupid in this one. Comma, 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 comma. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, that's looking, like one of those things that's clean. I can reload. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to quit and restart. And let us go ahead and see what it is we can, can I say, oh, like all the commands appear to be back now. Whoops, up here, I can add help to a package. I can add a help file. So let's say we edit help index, works. This is why I don't use the menu, incidentally. Edit help file. Yeah, just that one. Boop. Okay, that's good. Reload that help file with F5. Reloaded help file index.txt. Okay, so that seems, that's one of those, at first blush, it seems to work type things. So let's go ahead and verify what we did here. Those are the names of all the commands. We can stage that up. We cleaned up those imports extensively. Well, that's nice looking. Same there and there. Now, what we actually haven't tested here is that since I was making all of these changes while I was yammering on in an effort to be mildly entertaining. One untracked file, huh? Oh yeah, the new init is that one. Stage that up too. There's a possibility that I may have flubbed one of those imports. If you forget to fix the import statement as we saw there, then the code just won't load and compile. But on the flip side, if you take one too many out, then it causes a runtime problem later. So clearly, before we released this to anybody, we'd want to do more stuff there. Now, again, that is the amending previous commit to move the commands into the appropriate place. Thusly, but that's actually looking, okay, that's override audit. So let us, oops, get rid of that window. And this is looking kinda nice now. There's all of that business. So, I mean, that file, we could actually hide it from the project if we wanted to. I'm not sure if I was actually doing that in override audit or not. Similar to dependencies file. Seems okay. And then there's just our one authoring file that loads everything else in. And now we can look right in that source directory, easily see the common parts, and come into here to actually work on commands. So that's really number one, change the layout of the package. We could call that done-ish. Now we actually only have about 12 minutes left in this particular stream, and I don't really want to jump into working on any of the other items in this list, because in order to do that, I need to swap out of this branch and back into develop or into a different branch. And I don't want to do that because for two reasons. One, these commit messages are suboptimal. I do like, as we know, if you've seen in the past, I do like to put these bigger commit messages in. I just don't do that in streams because nobody wants to see me type commit messages. It was bad enough watching all of this coding type stuff happening. So I want to fix that. So that means if I wanted to work on this stuff, I either have to do another branch, modify like the linter code, and then have a heck of a time merging it across back to this branch, or I can make a new branch based on this branch merged over and then rechange all of those commit messages, which means when I try to merge the other one, when I edit those commits to change the messages, it's like a rebase operation happening, and that sends you into the Thunderdome of pain when it comes to merges. So, on the whole, I think this is where we want to stop here. I might actually even perhaps be interested in the idea of adding an item in here that says menu and one that says key map. Maybe one for settings, just to clean these up more as well. That does require a little bit of extra work. Maybe that shouldn't happen in a branch entitled code reorganizer. Maybe it actually counts as code. Who can say? The difficulty with modifying the locations of the key maps and stuff is that the menu entries and the command palette entries for editing settings and keyboards need to be tweaked up as well. So let's say that this was a good amount of work that was finished in this stream. Now this is really setting the stage for next week's video, which will also be on HyperHelp Author, doing items 2 through 7 on this list. It'll be a lot easier for us to do that because we can easily see just single commands, and not have to constantly flip back and forth through that big long monolithic file. So we are going to go ahead and call this the end of the stream. I'd like to thank you for watching if you are watching here live, and thanks for watching this if you're watching it after the fact. I know the time that I do these isn't conducive for people in other parts of the world to be able to visit and say hi. This really is the only time I have available to do this sort of thing this time of night, not necessarily this day of the week, but with my job and my family coming first, I have to do this sort of thing in the evening. But that said, if you had any questions about anything I did here tonight or any other Sublime Text questions, and you can't make it to a live stream to ask me just live in the chat, drop that question down in the comment section below this video or any of my videos, or send me a tweet at OdatNurd, or send me an email to odatnurd@gmail.com. Those are all down available in the video description, he said, knowing that some of them aren't, but OdatNurd.net probably is. And is it? That's a good question. I totally have it available on this tab over here. And it doesn't say that at all. Probably should, though. Anyway, leave those questions there, and I can create a video on my other channel, which is definitely linked in the description, and answer that question for you. And with that, this is OdatNurd telling all you other Sublime Text fanatics out there that once you're done liking and subscribing to my videos and channels, have a sublime day.